You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, every child needs a new dad. The other night, as I was tucking my 8-year-old son Ayden into bed, we found ourselves in one of those quiet, tender moments that I so love. Out of nowhere, he asked me, "Mom, when you were little, what did you want to become? Like a job and stuff?" I smiled and told him, "Well, it's not exactly a job, but ever since I was about 6 years old, I always wanted to be a mom." Ayden paused. "Really? Wow." He needed to just take that in for a bit. And then he followed it up with, "Why?" So I thought about it a little and said, "Because I wanted you." And then he melted into the sweetest, slightly bashful smile and hugged me tightly. And then as he pulled away, he had another follow-up question. "How many kids did you want?" To this, I was about to say 2, because I have 2. But then I remembered that at one point in my life, I wanted 3 children. So I said, well, there was a time when I wanted 3, but then I had Isa, and I had you, and I thought that was perfect. So 2 is perfect. But Ayden was already hung up on the prospect of another sibling. "Really? 3? Really?" He was so excited. And then he pondered on this a bit and said, "Well, so you'll need another dad, right?" And that's because, as you all know, I'm single. But then I realized, wait, that's not what Ayden meant. Because each kid needs a new dad, right? Was what he said. And I bursted out laughing. You see, somewhere along the way, Ayden had created his own version of how families work. He had assumed, just like our household, that each child comes with their own father. A fresh dad per child. It made perfect sense to him because that's how it was in our house. I gently explained, "No, that's actually just our family. I mean, there are other families like us too, but it's not exactly typical. Most of the time, when there are siblings, they have the same dad." But Ayden couldn't quite wrap his head around it. So I gave examples of our friends, families he knows where they have brothers with one dad in the picture. And Ayden was still like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." Because somehow this whole time, even with his friends at school and stuff, when they have siblings, Ayden had assumed that child number 2 came from dad number 2, and child number 3 came from dad number 3. It was just such a funny, cute moment. For him, this was the version that was normalized, and everything else felt strange. Honestly, I just loved that. I thought it was so cute. And in that moment, it was kind of a reconfirmation, because not just for Ayden, but for all of us, what we grow up with becomes our baseline for reality. Not what's common or typical, just what is, and especially what is as it's modeled before us. And sometimes that lens is so pure, so unquestioned, that it takes you by surprise. On this night, it sure made me laugh. And it reminded me how beautifully, innocently, we all make sense of the world in our own way. And that's why, I guess, Kizuki often arrives in the most ordinary moments when we see the same world, just with fresh eyes. Thank you for listening. If you missed the recent Kizuki Journaling online session, the on-demand replay is now available at maey.live under On Demand. And if you'd like to be the first to know when the next live session opens, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter at the bottom of maey.live or kizukijournaling.com.